You said what?
She licked her mouth.
Hello. We want to welcome you to Candles and Conversation. This is our second show. This will be a two-part show. This will be part one, of course. Um, and then in a couple weeks, we'll have part two. And then in the end, I'll explain a little bit what part two will be. And then, two, what we're going to do a little bit different this show is. We are going to do some giveaways. We have some products sweetly created for you. For you guys who may not know who I am, we do have some products we're going to give away. We do carry soap and lotion. Our soap, we have tangerine and grapefruit, and then we also have cherry almond. So we'll be giving some products away, and I think we may have some candles around here. But you'll have to stay tuned, and we'll pick names at the end. Just a brief background for those who may not know who I am. I am Brandy, owner and creator of Sweetly Created for You soy scented candles. We make dessert candles. We make melts. We make hand sanitizer, car fresheners, sprays. I think that's all. We make a little bit of everything. And also, just a few things that we have going on. We are getting ready for holiday season, one of the busiest time of the years for us. So we will be having our third annual Sweetly Friday sale, which is our Black Friday sale, where all of our 18-ounce candles, which is our bigger candles, will be on sale for $10. They're normally on sale for $20 to $22. They're normally regular price $20 to $22, but they'll be on sale. So if you guys are not familiar, go to our Facebook page and subscribe. Like our page so you're able to see the things that we have going on. If you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, please do so, so you can see what we have going on. I want to introduce our guest that we have this evening. We have my daughter. Her name is Sequoia. She is 22. And then we have her best friend, Niche. Niche, how old are you?
Hey, 22.
Are you? She's 22 as well. Nisha and Koi have been friends for how long now?
Over 7 years.
We graduated in 12? Is it 2000? Yeah, 2012.
So they've been friends for a while. So, to give a backdrop real quick about this show, after the first show, I started working on what we were going to do for the second show. And I was getting ready to send invites out to the people that I wanted to have on it. And the Lord dropped something else in my spirit for this show. Kind of revamped the whole process of it. And something on a conversation I think is very much needed. So we'll be going into a different direction than I had originally planned. For anybody who follows Sweetly Created for You, you may realize a lot of my posts are like super early in the morning, and that's because when I am up working or the Lord is dealing with stuff. So that's normally my most productive time. So when I was spending some time with him, he did give me the concept of this show. So part two, we will have she is a social worker, and I'll give more information in reference to her, but she is a social worker, and she will be covering like the clinical part of this conversation, just give some feedback and just what she sees as in her profession. So we will get started. So a few things, we'll be talking about a lot of different things during this show. So if you guys have questions, please feel free to ask. You have your phone on, right? Okay. So my daughter has her phone on, so she'll be able to see if people have questions about anything. please share this video, because if you know teenagers or young adults, if you could share it with them, allow them to be able to have access to this, it would be greatly appreciated. So, um, one of the things that we talked about the last show, we touched on was uh, one of my main things with my business is building a legacy. Building a legacy for my daughters and building a legacy for my grandkids, my future grandkids, great great grands. So just creating a foundation that they're able to have when I'm not here anymore. Um, and when we're raising kids, there's not like a book. Well, there are books, but there's not like a book that says, okay, do this, do this, do this, and it'll turn out like this, and this. It's kind of like trial and error. So, in saying that, one of the things I wanted to ask you girls is, um, tell me or tell our viewers something you feel that shaped you when you were coming up. Like, what was something that you feel shaped who you are, or like the direction that you took in life, or the path that you're taking?
I'd probably say, I guess, I mean, I kind of grew up in a different way as far as growing up. I had a stepdad in my life for a while, and then as I got older, he kind of, my mom and stepdad got married, then they got divorced. But in a way, I kind of felt like my mom obviously was like the stable part of the whole thing. So in a way, I kind of felt like it was like a single parent kind of thing. Because he was like a dad to me, but at the same time, he wasn't always completely there with everything. So I guess looking at it as more of like a single parent kind of thing, I guess. I would say growing up and seeing my mom like work hard for everything that she would get us and stuff like that. Like we would ask for toys and stuff like that, like any kid would do. And we might not get it right when we wanted it, but we always would eventually get the toy that we wanted specifically. And it's like we knew she worked really hard for it. As we got older, we understood stuff like that. So seeing her growing up and stuff like that, it definitely helped me to, like now I work harder for the things that I have. Like I worked really hard to get my own car and working hard to hopefully move out soon. And it's like just, steps to just realizing like you gotta work hard for what you want and where you want to get into life, and like getting ready to go back to school and wanting to become a pediatric nurse. That's the next thing that I really want to work hard for, and I know I have to work hard for that. So I guess working hard definitely was something I saw a lot growing up.
What about you, Niche? Like, what shaped you?
I mean, I still feel like kind of the same thing. My mom was always at work when I grew up, so kind of like my grandma and my best friend, my other best friend Julia's mom kind of helped raise me. So I agree, the working hard, she went to work, took care of her family, and that's what I want to be able to do. I mean, I know it wasn't always easy, and that just goes to show, like some days you're going to have to miss days with family because you have to make a living, but at the same time, I seen a quote and it said, never let making a living blind you from making a life. So don't get so engorged in trying to make yourself a way of living that you don't enjoy the time that you have right now.
That's good. That's really good. Look at you, Niche. So you kind of touched on, Koi, a little bit of the second question. Because, like, you came from, I look at as a single parent home, but then you had your stepdad there for like, he was in your life for like 14 years, like when your dad wasn't in your life in the beginning, but now that he is a major part, a very important piece of your life now. Um, how did it affect you, like having like a step parent, like having a single coming from a single parent, and then you kind of transition, even though when your stepdad was in your life you were younger, you guys were little, so you kind of, that's what you knew. But then like um when he left, it was just us again. So like how did that affect you, like as a young woman, like maybe like how you look, like maybe like when you're looking like to date, or what you may look for, like qualities like for a boyfriend, or has that affected any of your thought process like that?
I feel like I don't know. I feel like in a way it has. Growing up, having a stepdad who was my dad, grown from the time I was really little till like I think I was 14 or 15 or something like that. Um, and then my biological dad stepping into my life, like he started, like we got in communication again and started talking, and like we're still in communication today, and like we talk a lot more than we used to. Um, and then not only having my biological dad, but also my dad got married, so having another step parent. So it's kind of a crazy, crazy thing. But I guess in the beginning, I had a hard time, like, after my stepdad wasn't in my life anymore. I had a hard time for a while after that, because of the fact that it's just like I kind of felt like in a way like he was my dad figure for a while, and then my biological dad wasn't there, and then he left. So it's like, okay, well, who's supposed to be my dad for a while? But then it's like, okay, now my biological dad wants to be in my life again, but I don't really know who he is because I didn't grow up with him. Um, so whenever, I mean, I I'm not really like looking to date or anything right now. It's just something that is like I don't I don't know how to explain it. I guess my thing is, for a while it caused issues with like becoming friends with guys. I had a hard time trusting guys and stuff like that because of that. Just because I felt like that all guys would just leave, whether it's a friendship or, if it was something more like that. That's just how it is. Just because that's how I felt whenever my parents got divorced. I felt like he just left, and like we didn't communicate at all after he left. It was just like he kind of dropped me and was like, okay, well, I'm done with her, so that means I'm done with the kids too. So it's like kind of weird. But now, like, I've grown in my relationship with God, so I know like I have way more worth than that. So I know like there's a guy that's supposed to be out there for me, all that good stuff. But essentially, it did come down to that, where for a while it caused me to have trust issues with men in general. Even like people that I looked up to, like whenever I would start going to church and stuff, a lot of like my pastors were men, and youth group leaders, they were men. So it's just like having a relationship with them, and then started going to church and stuff like that again. So that kind of just changed my perspective of everything. So I guess for a while it just caused issues with like seeing men differently in a way.
One thing that I saw too, as a mother, that's why I think it's so important to know your kids and know like their personality, like when they may draw in, just to know their demeanor. I know during that time, when my ex-husband and I got a divorce, um, Coy went through a period of because he just stopped all contact. Like when he didn't talk to, since he wasn't talking to me, he stopped talking to my daughters. So, and that was my thing with him. Once we got a divorce, I did reach out and was like, even though we're not together, you can still communicate with the girls if you still want to do stuff with them, because you have been in their life for like 14 years. So to just stop and not be in their life, like that's a huge thing. So, and he didn't, but then that's when, you have to stand on your faith and give it to the Lord, which it may sound cheesy, but you have to, because if not, you will literally go crazy with that, and just ask the Lord to comfort and that type of thing. Another thing that I wanted to touch on is when we were together, and I know you were, like I said, I think you and Rena were like 1 and 2, or like 2 and 3, because they're 14 months apart. And so they were very young when we got together. And I would say that was kind of like the first relationship that I was in for that period of time. So, and our relationship was it was a hot mess, to say the least, at times. And one of the things, like, we argue all the time. So we were verbally abusive, we were physically abusive to each other, not like to the kids. And so the girls were exposed to that, which at that time, I don't really know if I thought a lot about it. It was just like what we did. How did that impact like your relationship with like other people? And like, did that impact any of your relationships like with your friends? Like how, like if you saw, because I know like when we were younger, like when you guys were younger, my thing was like they don't know because they're too young. But then when you guys started getting older and we were arguing and stuff and fighting, like you guys were old enough to be aware of what was going on. And then I think that's when I got to a point when I actually sat and realized that you guys, first of all, you were girls. And for you to see a man put his hands on a woman, it was like, I don't know, it was just a point in my relationship with him when I was just like, that's not good. Like, they're going to think that it's okay for a man to put his hands on a woman. They're going to think that this is the norm. Like, this is what's supposed to happen. Like, if you get upset, you just put your hands on someone. And being young-minded back then, like, my thought process was so much different. And the Lord had to work with me, mold me, shape me, that type of thing. But my thought process then was so much different than what it is now. That just seems like a lifetime ago. Like and it seems like it was just a different person, which kind of it was. But to be in a relationship where you are arguing and fighting and you have your kids that are able to see that, it's a lot. Like when I think about it, it's just a lot. For them it was a lot for me to process. So then when you have younger people and they have to process, mommy and daddy or mommy and stepdaddy or whatever the case may be are arguing and fighting, like in your mind, like how did that work? Like when, and we've never talked about it like out loud, kind of was like something that happened like forever ago, so we didn't touch on it. So when the Lord gave me this show, I was just like, okay. But I feel like it's a reason that he wants us to talk about the things that we're talking about. And there are young adults and young kids out there who may be dealing in that situation, or be in that situation, or if they aren't, they know someone that is in that situation. So just to encourage them, to let them know that, that things like that does happen, but it doesn't mold you into any particular type of person. So that's why I'm asking, like, from your thought process, like, how did you feel seeing that, or how did it shape, like, your relationships, like, because having, like, maybe having people come over or that type of thing? Or do you remember?
I do. I don't remember a lot of it. I mean, but some of it is because of the fact that I have a bad memory. So, but I remember some of it. I don't remember a lot of the fights. I mean, there were a couple that like it was just like what, and of course, like I didn't understand what was going on because I was younger. So it's just like. But I think when we got older, towards especially like closer to you guys like getting a divorce, is when it kind of like, I guess those arguments and stuff like that, those ones were the ones that stuck with me more because obviously I was older and I was old enough to understand what was going on. I never like processed it or thought of it in a way, I guess in my mind, I never like thought of it as, oh, this is abuse. Because of the fact that it's like you always get a picture painted in like school. They're like, if anyone ever puts your hands on you, you're supposed to call 911 and stuff like that. But it's like, I don't know. I guess they argued in a different way. Like they argued a lot, but the putting the hands on each other, that's not something that we saw a lot. Like I've seen it a few times, but I don't really remember it. But whenever like they would argue, I know like I obviously we were upstairs sleeping so we could hear it. But I remember like one time we were upstairs and they were arguing, and me and my sister's rooms were like in different spots. So like the layout of the house was like you walk into the living room, then you go upstairs. My sister's bedroom is at the top of the stairs. Then there was a bathroom. Then it was my room, and then it was their room. So I was right next door to them, but they were arguing downstairs. And I remember my sister coming into my room, and I just like, I don't know, I guess in a way I just kind of ignored it because I just was like, okay, like they're arguing again. But I think in a way it affected my sister a little bit more because she would come into my room and she would cry. And so I would just have her sit in the bed with me and like tell her like it would be fine. And then like whenever it would stop, she would go back to her room and go to sleep and stuff. So, but like, I guess I just kind of ignored it, and I just always knew like that's not what I was supposed to. I know like this isn't the type of person I want to be with. Is someone who like yells at me and stuff like that. I'm a crybaby, so I won't be able to handle it. I'm gonna just say that now. But I'm just like I don't think much of it now. I guess it's not something that really affects my life now. But like if we never really had a lot of people over, like we never had friends over and stuff like that. It would be like special occasions that we would be allowed to have friends over, and it wasn't because of that. It was because of the fact that like my mom was kind of strict with like letting anybody over and stuff like that, and like always had to check with the parents and stuff like that. It was just how she was, and it was fine because I respect that. But she would have like she would let us have friends over for sleepovers or stuff like that, and sometimes I would get nervous because I'm like, okay, well I hope they don't start arguing. But then a lot of times he would leave for most of the time that we were up, and then like we would go upstairs and go to sleep and stuff like that, and I would hear him come back like super late at night. But it was just like, okay, well I know everything is fine for tonight. But it's just like sometimes it affected things, but I don't really think it really affects me now. It's not anything that I've noticed now as far as like friendships and stuff like that.
Now, Niche, with you, because your mom and dad are married, right?
Yeah.
So, tell us like I wanted to get the perspective from someone that was raised kind of like in a single home, and then the perspective of someone that's raised in a home where their parents are married. And Koi, she had a step parent too, so she has that aspect in there as well. Then she had her dad in her life, so she has a little bit of everything going on. But like, what was your upbringing like with your mom and dad? Like, would you say it was what people may say is normal?
I mean, I don't know if I would call it normal because our family is very much dysfunctional. I guess I would call it. Um, but as far as the whole marriage thing, it was just kind of sad because I remember once I was in school and then we were talking about our house and families and stuff like that, and someone was like, "So, both of your parents are married?" And I was like, "Yeah," like it was just normal to me. And they're like, "And there's your real mom and your real dad?" And I'm like, "Yeah, like that's normal." But it was just sad to see that to some people that wasn't normal or they weren't familiar with that kind of thing. I mean, I feel like they did a great job. I have four other brothers. They're not all both from my mom and my dad. I'm the only one. My other brothers are half brothers, but we never really did the whole half brothers thing. Like it was just they're my brothers and I'm the sister. Um, so I mean, I feel like it was pretty normal. I mean, like I said, my mom worked a lot. My dad also worked. They kind of swapped, and then dad was working and mom wasn't, and then they were both working. So I spent a lot of time with Granny. So like I said, she kind of raised me, and then once I got a little bit older, I met another friend, and then we did a lot of stuff with them. So I mean, I guess I would call it closer to normal. It was normal for me.
Now, now with your upbringing, were you exposed to like any like abuse, and not necessarily saying like in your household, but maybe like your family that you saw?
Yeah, and I mean, my parents, they argue. So, I mean, I wouldn't call it abusive, but I think every family argues. Some of the family we don't necessarily talk to or associate with, but I mean, that wasn't my decision. It was just their decision, so that's how it ended up being. Um, as far as abuse, my abuse that I was more exposed to is more so like, I guess I'll say like toxin abuse versus physical. Um, some of the family, they have alcohol problems or, things like that. So I wasn't really exposed to much physical abuse. Verbal abuse, yeah. But I mean, we all know hurt people. And, when you argue, you say things that you don't really mean, or maybe you do, but it's not okay to hurt the other person. So I say probably verbal abuse a lot more than anything else.
That's good when people say, I've heard that a lot, hurt people, because that's so true. Um, that's how it is, but it's sad. But a lot of times when people are hurt, they don't realize how they're hurting people, and how it impacts them. Another thing with like you and Koi have been friends for a while, so I know how your friendship formed. But some of the viewers, well, probably most of the viewers don't know. Like, so tell us how your friendship formed, and did the fact that you guys came from two different backgrounds, like your upbringing influence how you guys vibe together? Like, because Koi came from single parent and you came from married. Like, that influence, or how did you guys, like, become Koi and Niche?
Well, to be honest, there used to be, well, Ariana's still our third.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it would be me, Nisha, and Ariana.
And there was Kiana too, and AMT.
And Kiana also. So it was always the four of us. And we did this program at the school we went to, the high school we went to. We did this program called Animal Management, aka AMT. And that's essentially where we met and we became friends. Ariana and Denisha already were friends before the program. And then me and Ariana were obviously already friends, and we were friends from elementary school. So me and her already knew each other, and so I remember us like going back and forth from the school because me, Ariana, Denisha all went to the same school. Kiana came from a different school. So the three of us always traveled on the bus back and forth together and stuff like that all the time. And so I remember us always traveling back and forth on the bus, but Ariana essentially introduced me and Denisha together. And then we all became friends with Kiana when we got to the program. But that's essentially how we met, how our friendship formed through our love for animals, because that's obviously why we took the class. We learned how to groom, we learned how to do business and stuff like that. So that's essentially what the class was for. But yeah.
I agree. And the thing about it is we went to the same school for 2 years before we started that program, and we weren't friends then. So AMT kind of brought us together, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I even knew you before then. I knew
No.
of you, but I don't think we actually.
We didn't actually
met.
met. I think it was weird too. After we became friends, like we saw each other all the time at school. But it's like realizing now, like I think we passed each other like all the time.
I know.
But now it's like because we're friends, we started saying hi to each other and stuff like that. But it's just weird. I don't know. Friendships are kind of weird.
This is what they do. So, tell me, how has faith influenced or not influenced, like your journey into young adulthood? Sorry. So tell us how faith has influenced your journey.
I'm sorry, I felt like I was frozen for a second. I mean, I've been, I don't know.
I don't really know either. I mean, I had a rough childhood, so all I can just say is that I know I'm still here for a reason, and it's probably God. So, I mean, I was born, and then I had cancer, and then I was in remission, and then I developed scoliosis. So then I had to go through 3 surgeries, and I had metal rods and screws, and it was a whole ordeal. So even though I'm going through a hard time right now, my face is still there just because God kept me here for a reason. That's all
Okay. Can you hear, like, do you think that you can hear the volume on it?
Are you whispering?
I don't know.
I'm literally watching you whisper right now.
Okay, so one thing I didn't know you had cancer, Niche.
Yeah, I had neuroblastoma. It's a very aggressive
Never knew
childhood
that.
cancer.
Get out.
Mm-hmm.
When did you have cancer?
I think I was diagnosed at 1 or 2. It was really young, and then I was in remission a year or so later. I never really asked. I'm just now like being super into medical stuff because I'm a vet nurse. So it wasn't until recently that I really was interested in what happened. But I know it was in my younger, at least from ages 1 to 3 is when all that happened.
Craziness. I didn't even know that. I tell you, you never know people's journey. You never know. You never know. I would ask, with all that you guys know, how would you encourage another young adult or a teenager that is trying to find their identity in this world? And the reason why I think that question is a good question to ask is because people see so much with social media, with how you should be, what is acceptable, what's cool, what the norm looks like what the normal person looks like. They tell you what what is beautiful, what's not beautiful. I think social media impacts our youth so much, and it's like everywhere. Like it's Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, like all those forms of social media just kind of dictate what your identity should be. And I've watched, as your mother, of course, I've watched you struggle with finding your identity and finding your place in this world. And I've seen you go through um, trying to fit in to what people call normal, when you were in high school, and when you didn't fit in, how that affected you. But then I seen when you kind of, when you were walking on your path with your faith, how like it just kind of seemed like it just snapped. Like you just figured it out. And like you were just like marching to your own beat. Like, you know, you knew that you were created differently. Like the Lord created you differently. And that was okay. Like it was okay for you not to be normal. You know, like what people say is normal. So when you have so much outside influence, um, and I think it's like we growing up, as older adults had influence, but I feel like now with your generation and the generations that are coming up, social media has such a huge impact on how people view themselves, how our youth and our young adults view themselves. How um, how did you how would you encourage someone while they're on their journey of finding who they are, and and how they can fit in or not fit in to this world?
Um, that was a very long question.
Sorry.
I guess honestly, growing up, it was always like you're supposed to look this way, you're supposed to look that way, and you have to do this in order to fit in, and you have to do this in order to fit in. But as I got older, I realized I don't like those rules. I'm not one who like follows the rules per se, as far as in that aspect of like how I'm supposed to look and stuff like that. Like growing up, it was always like if you weighed this much, then you were fat, and it's everything you do is just it shows, I guess. And if you post pictures like this on Instagram, then that makes you cool. But if you post stuff like this, then you're just like lame. And it's just like it was a lot. Going to school is like stressful, and people don't understand that now. Like people are like, "Oh, I don't understand this about school now," and I'm like, "Well, as somebody who graduated not that long ago, it's just like people don't get that school is really hard for kids, and it's not just the stuff that they're teaching, but also the fact that you have to fit a certain image in order to fit in with people at school, because there's like the popular kids, and then there's like these kind of kids and these kind of kids, and you don't want to be like those kids because those kids are weird." And I'm like, but that's the kind of person I am. I'm very weird, and I'm very outgoing, and I'm very social, and I like people. I'm a people person. I'm an animal person. I like everything except for bugs. I don't do those. But it's just like I've learned to be okay with myself. Um, I'm not gonna fit in with anyone. I still don't fit in with people. For a while at the new job that I work at now, that's was something I was struggling with. I don't fit in with the people I work with. Everyone that I work with are like one another, and they click together. But me, I go against everything that is what everyone else is. So growing up and like going to school, it was really hard. But now that I'm out of school and I'm away from, oh, this is the box that you're supposed to be in, and you have to fit in this box. You have to look like Barbie instead of yourself. And it's like, I now know, like, with knowing who God is and who He created me to be, don't get me wrong, I still don't know who I am completely, but that's okay. And that's the thing. People feel like you have to know everything about yourself. You have to know who you are, what you're supposed to be. That's why whenever people say, usually sophomore years, when a lot of the kids in school start to hear, like, what do you want to do for the rest of your life? I hate that question, because the simple fact that, why are you implying that someone should have to already know what they want to do with the rest of their life? And it's like, first off, they're what, 17, 18, 16, 17, 18, like in that age range, and you're asking them what do they want to do when they're 35? Like, that to me is just this bizarre. So it's just like, it's essentially like that. You're asking a person, like, who are they supposed to be when they don't know? They're still trying to figure things out. They're still trying to figure out who they are. They're still trying to figure out, once you get into high school, that's when you start to realize, after school, like, I have to figure out what I want to do. Do I want to start working right away? Do I want to go to school, and do I want to go do more school so I can go towards the profession that I want? But it's like, even when you go to college, it's like, oh, well, I want to do this, and you start studying one thing, but then you change your major halfway through, and you're like, I realize that's too much. I don't want to do that anymore. So it's just like, they want you to fit into a certain box, but you don't. So it's like, don't be afraid to try different stuff. You're young. You're going to be young for a while. Let me tell you, I'm 22 and I'm still young. I haven't gone back to school. I've done like maybe 2 semesters of schooling, like of college, and I haven't been back since. And I'm wanting to go back now. So, and I know what I want to do. I want to go back to school for nursing. It's what I've decided since I was like 5. But it's just like, not everybody knows what they want to do when they're 5 years old. Trust me. When you're 5, you want to be a Barbie doll one day. You want to be president the next. Then you want to be a cowboy on the moon 2 days later. It's just like, it changes a lot.
I think one thing with that, as a parent, it's so important to listen to your kids. And it's also important not to force your dreams on your kids. One thing with Koi, and that's why I said kids, you don't have a manual that comes with them, when they're born. You can take classes to try to just educate yourself more, and it's a lot of trial and error. But I think the most important thing with raising kids is to just listen to them. I have been told that I baby my daughters. I have 2 daughters. I've been told that I baby them, and I don't believe it's so much babying them. I just don't push them into things that they don't want to do. So there was a time when, after Koi graduated, when she was going to go to the Air Force, and she was all ready to go to the Air Force. We were getting everything with the recruiter ready and all that, and then she decided she didn't want to go. She was just, I'm not going. And I was just like, okay. Now, I was upset at first, because I was thinking, that's a way for her to be able to get to school and not have college, not have debt in college and all that stuff. And that was what I thought about. But then I thought, why would I force her to do something that she didn't want to do? She'd go over there or wherever they would have her. Her mind is not completely in it because she doesn't want to be there. And then something happens. Or she comes back and she's not the same person she was when she went over, because she was forced, or because she didn't feel comfortable enough to say, no, mommy, I don't want to go. So I've always been the parent that listens. And no, I may not like the decisions that they make, but I have learned through parenting that is their decision. At the end of the day, I don't want to force anything on them that they don't want to do. And her dad was very upset that she didn't want to go into Air Force, and he was looking at as the aspect of, it was a good opportunity, the doors that were open for her, and just like the things that I thought too, but he was more like gung ho on it. So he was disappointed when she didn't want to go, but at the end of the day, it's their life. You have to allow them. As a parent, our love is unconditional. It doesn't have any um, stipulations on it. I'm gonna love you long as you do this. I'm gonna love you long as you do that. It's no stipulations on it. So our kids will. You have to let them fall, bump their head, whatever the case may be, and be there when they need help to get back up. And I've learned that as a parent. And I've learned that too because I also think that God shows us the same mercy. Like we fall, we don't listen, we fall. He doesn't say, "Well, you fell. I'm done with you, Brandy." Like he doesn't do that. Like he has this unconditional love. Like he shows so much mercy to us that who are we not to show that to a person that he gave to us as a gift? So when you look at it at that aspect, um, you can't do anything but allow them to walk their journey and be there when they need you. Like, so what do you think, Nisha, as far as for encouragement for someone that's walking their journey of identity?
I mean, I'm still, like Sequoia said, trying to figure out what I want to do. So right after high school, I went to AMT. I wanted to do animals. I did it. I graduated, got my license. Boom, I'm in there. And now I'm 22 and I'm working as a vet tech, and now I'm just kind of in the same boat. Like I don't really know what I want to do, because I do have a bad back, so I don't know how long I'm going to be able to do that in the first place. So I'm trying to figure out where I want to be and what I want to do. I feel like I need to figure it out sooner than later. The only advice I have is to just keep pushing, keep I don't know, keep your face. Don't let go. It's hard to say for me. I mean, like I said, I'm in the same situation. I don't really know where I am in life right now. I don't really know what I want to do. So,
it's a process.
Yeah. The first part is realizing, I guess, that you don't know and accepting it's okay to not know what you want to do or what you don't want to do. And that's the first part you got to get over. Second part is doing the work and, getting in there and figuring it out.
That's good advice. That's very good advice.
I like it.
Now, another thing that I wanted to touch on is that, Koi, you have faced. I'm sorry, am I keeping you up?
No.
Just wondering. You have faced some battles, for you to only be 22, to only be 22. You have faced battles that have shaped, I think, who you are. I remember when I don't even know what you were dealing with. Yes, I do. So it's kind of two-part thing. Okay, so the first part is, which I was going to talk about this last, but I guess I'll talk about it now. So when you were in school, I remember you telling me like these kids were bothering you because of your hair. And I was the type of parent. So Brandy then and Brandy now are two different Brandys.
Oh yes.
So Brain it in, like she would say,
She's ready.
"Mommy, this girl was bothering me about my hair or something." So as soon as she said that, I was Johnny on the spot. I was at the school, and you're not gonna mess with my daughter, and who was it? And that was me. Like, they knew. All they had to do was call me, and I was up there. I don't care if I was at work, I was leaving work. It took me about 2 minutes to get to the school, and I was there. That's how it was.
This is why I didn't really want to tell her in the end, because I knew this is what happened.
I was just, But when you have somebody messing with your baby, that just, But Sequoia dealt with bullying a lot because Sequoia has alopecia, and
If
if
I
people,
have no hair,
she has no hair on the sides of her hair. Now, her hair is natural. She has a beautiful head full of hair, but she just doesn't have hair on the sides. So when Koi was small, I would always keep headbands on her, or she would keep her hair slicked down to the sides. Like, I would do whatever I could to cover it so people wouldn't see it, so she wouldn't get made fun of. So it would be times when Koi would sweat and it would come up, or just whatever. And so people started to realize that, like, she didn't have any hair on her sides. So then she started getting bullied. So she would come home so defeated and so upset because people would tease her and talk about her. And it would seem like every day, and I was getting so frustrated. I would call up to the school and talk to the school. I would go up to the school, and it just seemed like it was just ongoing, like just every day. It was always something. And I remember being at the house here, and she was doing something, and I seen her arms, and I'm like, what is all these marks on your arms? Like, why do you have all these marks? It was like all these marks here and marks here on her arm. And I'm like, what is that? And she was like, try to cover it up. Then she's like, nothing. And I'm like, no, it's not nothing. What is going on? So that's when she told me that she was cutting herself. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, what? And she said, and I said, well, where were you cutting yourself at? And she said, at Grandma's house, which is my mother. And so that just shook my foundation. Because I'm like, first thing I thought was, do you know if you would have hit an artery when you were cutting yourself, you would not be here. Like, you could have bled to death, literally. Because you were cutting yourself, because someone was bothering you so much, and someone was impacting your life so much that it drove you to cutting yourself, harming yourself. That was just crazy to me. Like, and I never would have thought of that. Like, that's not something that my kids would do. And so I remember telling her dad, and he was just like, that's not what we do. That's not what we do. And I'm just like, wait, well, your daughter's doing it. So what are we going to do? And my thing to that was, I remember calling, I think I called suicide awareness or something. And they were wanting to set her up for counseling and stuff. And, I've been told that counseling is not for our people, which is a stigma that I hear a lot, which is sad with our community. I feel like counseling is not something that we do. But that was my first thought process. We need to get you in counseling. Like, we need to figure this out. because it can never be that bad where you feel like you have to hurt yourself from bullying. And the reason why I wanted to touch on that is because being on social media, and then too just hearing, having friends, knowing friends that have been affected by it. Bullying is so prevalent now. Like, it's you they bully, the kids in school, they're cyberbullying. Like, people are getting all the time. It's like not something that, that was something that you did then. Is like prevalent now. And our speaker that we're gonna have on the next show, like I said, she's a social worker, and she's gonna touch more on some of these topics. That's why I wanted her to be on our next show, to be able to give some things from what she sees from a clinical standpoint, and what she sees, and just some help that's out there for our teenagers and our young kids that feel like they're in that space where they're being bullied, or they may be the bullier. They may be the person that's doing the bullying, but why are you doing that? Like, what? There's a why behind it. Why do you feel the need to be so mean to someone that you are actually disrupting their life? And I know when you were walking through that, that was like so hard as a parent to watch you walk through. So I can imagine how it affected you. So, like, tell us how you were able to overcome that. But before you tell, I'll tell you one thing. One of the things that she did that empowered me so much, like it gave me so much life, is when she posted, do you remember?
Oh my gosh, yes.
She posted this picture on Facebook with her hair up in a ponytail, with her sides out, just kind of like, this is me, accept me for who I am. And that empowered me so much. And some people have some stuff to say about it, but she wasn't doing it for likes, shares, any of that. It was done because this is who I am. This is who I am as a young woman who doesn't fit in. Like, this is me. You either accept me for who I am or you don't. And if you don't, that's fine. I just don't have any space for you in my life. So when she posted that like, when you talking about proud mama, when she posted that picture just gave me so much life, and I could not have been more proud of her, because she finally figured it out, and she was on her walk with God, and she was just in a good space, and she figured it out that you don't have to fit in. You're not fitting in is okay. It's okay not to be normal. And she got it. Like, she understood that. And I was just like super, super proud. So tell us, like, how you overcame that. Like, how did you get to that point where you were just like, so someone who else is dealing with whatever they may be dealing with, understand, like, it's a light. Like, if she did it, it's a light at the end of the tunnel for me.
So, first off, I want to say a couple things. First off, that picture that she was talking about, I posted, I like had my hair up and stuff, and I didn't have like because I have like around the edge of my head, I guess, my little baby hairs are still there, but it's just like right in the middle that's like completely gone. And so like I normally would put like gel on it or something and slick it back. So I didn't have anything on. Like I just had got out the shower. I think I just like put my hair up for the night or whatever. And something just is like, okay, like it's just post a picture. And I put like a comment with it and just like this is for me. And it was for me. It wasn't because I wanted likes, like she said, and people to share and be like, oh, like you're so great, you're so brave, and I couldn't do that. Like, I wasn't going for those things. I was going for more of, this is a step for me to, one, realizing that they consider alopecia a disease, but I mean, I don't think it is. for me personally, I don't look at it like that. But because I'm living with this disease, where I can't grow my hair back. And coming from the point of growing up my entire life, I've been called things like bald eagle is my personal favorite. Bald eagle, and then just like anything, kids are very cruel. Anything else that they can come up with. And this is from like middle school up until even through almost the end of high school. Like people would pick on me and stuff about it. And then also about the whole cutting thing, I didn't do it for the attention, or I didn't do it because I had any intentions of like suicidal thoughts or anything like that. That was far from my mind. It was just like a way of releasing pain, is what a lot of people would say, honestly. But I never cut like deep or anything like that. I wasn't like doing it intentionally to do anything other than to release pain. So when I did it, and she would yell at me, she's like, "Do you know you could have hit an artery and stuff like that?" I'm not gonna lie, because I am very much interested in the nursing field. I knew like where I was cutting and what intentions I had with where I was cutting.
Stuff like that made it better.
It does make it better, but I'm just saying that I didn't have like those intentions of it being like a suicidal kind of thing. So whenever I started going to counseling, at first I wasn't very open to it, because I was just like, okay, well, I'll go to counseling, but I'll only do it for my mom because my mom wants me to go. But that actually is, I've always journaled since I was younger, because I also had issues with reading growing up, and that was another thing I was often teased about, because I hated reading in class. Like, do not give me a paragraph, please don't, because I stutter and I stumble over my words, and I had a hard time with enunciating, and enunciation is something I'm still struggling with today even. But it's just, I mean, it's something I come with terms with, but it's something else that like added to being bullied and stuff like that. So, and I don't know if that's something like my mom ever knew, or if a lot of people ever knew. But it's just like there was that, and so like that was something else that people could, you know, chip at me about. But I would journal a lot, and that was like my way of getting my emotions and stuff out. So essentially, when I went to counseling, at first it was, you know, the doctor wanted to talk about me, and they wanted to learn about me, and they wanted to get into my space and understand what was going on with my thought process and stuff like that, because I think they really thought I was suicidal when I wasn't. So I didn't really like it, but in the beginning, but then like I started coming to terms with it, especially when they gave me a journal and they were like, well, we want you to start writing in it. So I started writing again, and that's what honestly helped me. So honestly, I would say if anyone is going through something like that, you need to find something that will help you get through it, as far as like a hobby, or I don't know, just something, whether it's journaling or it's playing a guitar or an instrument, or it's singing or horseback riding, anything that you like to do, drawing. Use those things or those tools or whatever it is. Use those things to help you get your emotions out. Also, go to counseling, because counseling actually works. You won't like it in the beginning. I'm not gonna lie to you, you won't. But it's good for you. And growing up and being African American or black or whatever term you want to use, like being within this community is not talked about. Being suicidal is not talked about. Having any type of mental disease is not talked about, and it should be. I like the fact that it's being talked about more now that I've gotten older. People are a lot more open with a lot of different things now than it was like even 5 years ago. So it's like really nice to see that stuff like that is starting to come around. But it's just like making sure you find something to help you, finding your outlet basically to help you through it. And also finding a good support system, because listen, they will help you too.
Thank you, Sequoia.
You're welcome.
Niche, have you faced battles that you can encourage someone with on their journey or what they may have or may be facing, I should say?
I mean, to go along with the bullying thing, so I know you had alopecia, but for me, because I have scoliosis, I also have what they call lordosis. So I just say that my back goes inwards. So like one side of my back is flat, but the other one goes in, and then like my pelvis is also tilted. So one leg is shorter than the other. So in school, I always got made fun of the way I walk. They're like, "Why are you walking like this?" Because I would take one step and then one higher than the other. So I got bullied about that, and I also am partially deaf in one ear. So they would make fun of my lisp and the way I say my S's. So they also talked about that. I don't really know how I got through it. It was more so for me. I don't feel like it affected me that much. It was more so annoying than her. Like, okay, I know I walk this way. I know I talk this way. Can you just like it's not that serious. Just drop it. But that's something I got bullied with. I just kind of stayed to myself and, like she said, had a good support system. If somebody didn't like the way I walked or talked, then you don't need to walk near me or talk to me. I have, like, you just have to find other people that don't, I don't know, dawn on the little things. They don't pay attention to stuff like that. They don't care. They're going to be your friend regardless. So I would agree, find a support system. I do support counseling. Some people think it's weird. They don't want to tell their business to a stranger. But for me, I feel like I like it because it's unbiased. Like, I like to talk to my parents and family, but I feel like to an extent they're always going to take your side. So I would like to do counseling. I haven't yet, but I'm thinking about it just to get an unbiased opinion, I guess. So they're not, I don't know. Sometimes I still feel like it's biased because I'm the one sitting in front of them. So they're going to tell me what I want to hear. But I also, part of me feels like that's not how it's going to be. They're going to just give me their honest opinion. That's how I hope it would be. So if you're going through something, talk to people, get help. Don't sit there with it baking inside of you because it'll eat you alive. Just find your happiness. I'm not as outgoing as Sequoia, but I mean, for me, it's just kind of is what it is. I'm still finding out who I am, and if you're struggling and you need help, then just talk to somebody.
I think just listening to them, I didn't even know like some of the things that you face, Niche, but I've known you as Koi's best friend since y'all been in school together. However, I mean, it just shows you how I always tie stuff back to the Lord because He has been so amazing to me just with the things that I have battled and faced, and Koi has walked by my side through everything that I faced health wise, and even not health wise. So it's just awesome how the Lord can be so strategic when He puts two people together. I've always told my daughters that, Koi used to be the type of person when she was coming up that everybody under the sun was her friend, her best friend, everybody. And I used to have to tell her, no, honey, everybody is not your best friend. Like, everybody literally was her best friend. And then I remember explaining to her that you would be lucky if you have one person that you can call your friend. And I remember when she was being bullied and people didn't like her, didn't talk to her. And I remember telling her, like, when you get out of school, you'll be lucky to count on one hand if those people are still in your life, and how they will not be relevant when you get through this. And when you're, as a young person, when you're going through that, it's like really, really hard because all you see is what's going on, right then at that moment. So when someone says, it'll be fine, you'll get through it, and it doesn't seem like that right now. Like, these are two young women who have faced, even in their short time of being here, different adversity in their life, and just walking by faith, whether they are Bible reading every day, praying every day, or if they're occasionally doing it, walking by faith, trusting God to lead them. And they're examples of bullying, um, coming from different backgrounds, single parent, coming from a home with having both adults in there, your mom and dad married. So their backgrounds are different in every way, but then the Lord has strategically placed them together on their path where they're able to start a friendship and still be best friends after the fact when they have to be in school together. So you never know who the Lord may put in your path for you to be able to confide in, and who He will put in your path to be on your journey while you're walking through, whatever you're walking through. I just wanted to do a segment on to touch on topics that some people don't like to talk about. And one of the things that Coy talked about was mental illness, which is very prevalent in young kids as well. At our church, City of Joy, we just did a sister inspiring sister night where we talked about mental illness. Coy was not even there, but we did like a full night of talking about like how we can be able to, how it affects us, as women, as mothers, as people that always are carrying so much, worrying about everybody else. And now it's like it comes back to like how our young adults, if we're feeling that at our age, and what are they feeling at their age? And so at their age, I didn't even know she was even going to talk about that, because that wasn't even a thought process for me for her age group. But it's prevalent like in all age groups. And it's just it just shows you where we are like in this world, and how we just really need to take care of ourselves. And as parents, we need to, there will be times when our kids don't want to talk to us. They'll go in their room and be to themselves, and that's fine. I'm not saying you have to take the door off the hinge and you can't have the door, that's a little excessive. However, we don't want to be naive either if they have the door closed all the time or they don't want to talk. Coy's a reader, she's not a TV watcher, but then her sister will watch TV all day long. So you have to know, even if you're not in your kids' business, you have to know who your kids are, their personality, what's normal for them, and make yourself accessible, and allow them to feel comfortable enough. They may not talk to you about every single thing, but they know that the fact that they know that they can talk to you is the most important thing. My other daughter is an introvert to the max. So she keeps stuff to herself all the time. However, if there's something truly wrong, she knows. I may fuss a little, but she knows that she can come and talk to me about whatever. And that's the door that you want to have open, because with so much stuff that they're dealing with, and I tell you, kids, stay kids as long as you can. Because once you enter adulthood, you're in adulthood. And just keep that door open so that they're able to talk to you, because I can't stress that enough, because it's so important, especially for this generation. So I'm off of my soapbox. We will do some prizes. Um, spin the wheel. We'll let Niche spin the wheel because Niche doesn't stay here. She's a guest. Not really. But so you get to spin the wheel, and then you get to spin the wheel, and then we'll see what you win, if you win anything. So go spin the wheel.
Okay.
Is it anybody? Really?
Now, if you don't spin the wheel,
Can you
for
spin
real,
it? So you're not a winner.
Oh.
Again.
Oh.
Oh wow.
Okay, Chloe, we'll let you spin.
Excuse me.
She can't wait to spin.
I got a prize.
Okay,
You
so
owe
hand me
me
the
that prize.
This.
Yes. Okay, hold on. Let's check it.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, okay. That's fine. That was short.
Okay, so put your hand in it.
You way too excited.
Why? She's thirsty. Oh! So she won, put this over there. She won a prize from Wear Your Worship Tea. So Wear Your Worship Tea is a company that is by one of my good friends. Her name is Shavante Harris. She is a Christian brand t-shirt company. She actually was on our first Candles and Conversation show. So you have won a t-shirt from Shay. She is an amazing woman of God. And if you look her up, it's called Wear Your Worship Tea. We try to always give shout outs to people that have donated gifts to give away. And if you do have some product, or if you are a business owner and you would like for us to give some product away, just inbox me. You can inbox me through my business, which is Sweetly Created for You, or you can inbox me through my actual inbox, which is Brandy Coffee. We'll be happy to give you a shout out and put your name into our drawing jar so people can pull your product out. Are there any last words that you guys want to give about anything we talked about? Anything that else you guys want to talk about? Or are all hearts and minds clear?
Just want to say, I laughed a lot throughout this, and I know it was serious. Trust me, I was being serious the whole time. I'm just a goofy and silly person. That's just my personality. I just had to say it.
I want to thank Niche and Sequoia for coming on the show and for talking about things that may not have been the easiest things to talk about, but things that are much needed to talk about. And I want to open up, like, if anybody has any questions, you can inbox me. Because, like I said, we will be having a licensed social worker on our part 2 of this, where she can answer questions for you if you guys have something, or if you want to stay anonymous and you have a question or a concern for maybe your child or maybe someone you may know in your family. Please inbox so we can ask her questions when we have her on. She is very passionate about suicide awareness. She owns her own agency, so she's very passionate about that. She's passionate about bullying. She's passionate about going to talk to counselors, because how much they can help your family or your kid. So if you have any questions that we can answer on our next show, I will be more than happy to pass them on to her. I want to thank you for tuning in to watch Candles and Conversation. Please share this video. If you know anyone, young adults or young teenagers, please share it. That way that, we can get them help, or they can know that they're not alone. They're not, what they're going through is not anything out of the ordinary. Or if they may need just someone to talk to or just encouragement. So please share, share, share. We will be listing when our next show will be, and if you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, we would greatly appreciate it so we can grow some. But again, thank you for tuning in to watch Candles and Conversation.